We were sleeping another night, Ed and I. The place was a filthy mess. There was stuff laying everywhere, but otherwise we were feeling alright. Ed could certainly use a bed. My bedroll was getting a little tiresome as well. When I woke up, I decided to get right to some cleaning. Then I had a meal. And Camel was still down and out. Took care of it. Pretty bad case of the flu there. And I had to continue with the rice harvesting. Before stopping to take a nice walk around, check things out. I was concerned about the fact that I think I was starting to get some feelings for Ed. Kira wouldn't appreciate that, although I didn't know if Kira was still alive. I decided to carry on with work and get back to the business of dealing with the rice. Ed ate some raw rice, which didn't make her too happy, but it's the best we had at the second. She was running around, taking buildings apart, while I was chopping trees. I was doing my best to work far away from her, but she kept coming nearby. I was worried, nervous about what could happen. I loved Kira. I didn't want to do anything bad. I continued chopping trees, stopping to have a meal once in a while. I didn't even go inside to do so. And after a while, I hauled in what I could. Ed was having a meal. And she took off as soon as I came up. And Dromedary needed some attention. And Ed decided to build some traps as well, which was useful. Did my best to shear that dromedary, but I failed. And we were both off to bed at that point. When I woke up, I had to tend the asthma on the dromedary as well. It seemed to be doing alright. There's still more trees. Needed chopping. Even found some cherries nearby. Ed continued working on building some traps, trying to keep us secure. No telling what could go down around here. And I was pretty hungry while chopping trees, so I decided to eat them cherries I just plucked. They're pretty good. Can't complain too much. Generator was out of wood at that point as well. Ed almost had all the traps built, which was pretty awesome. Starting to feel safer already. And I got back to the business of chopping trees, and she got back to the business of tearing down buildings. We're gonna have a fat amount of supplies to do whatever we wanted with here. I was hoping we could get armored up, get on out, maybe explore one of them cities and see what we could find. I'm gonna need some animals though. Seem like you can take a pretty good haul back. So I carried stuff back. I found a ram that was dead and still pretty fresh. So I butchered it up. Decided to build a bed as well. Ed certainly didn't need to be sleeping on the floor at this point. And she got right to the business of making that bed for herself. That was, of course, right next to my bed, which only could lead to trouble. I was making some meals, getting things cranked out. Decided not to make too many. That could be a real problem. Another dromedary needed shearing. It was standing right on top of one of them heat vents. It seemed to be liking the hot air, blowing up on its underbelly. And Ed was still working on pulling buildings down. There were quite a few around. But she was making good progress. It wouldn't be long. I had myself a meal and I was off to bed. Ed came in. She was pretty crabby. I pretended I was asleep, unless something happened. And we laid there, next to each other but in separate beds. As cargo pods came down, a whole slew of bananas, which is pretty awesome. Ed was laying there. I'm not sure what she was feeling. I decided to get on out, harvest what I could. Lots of fruit was around. That'd be useful. Still had a couple dead bodies rotting. And while I was gone, Ed started working on some bedrooms for us. I appreciate the fact she made separate ones. During our last talk, she said she had no qualms about the fact that I was a wedded man. But at this point, I'm not sure how to proceed. Too much on my conscience, and I've done too many bad things since I've been here. I've never really hurt anybody before arriving. Now it feels like I hurt somebody most every day. Even if it is in self-defense. Can't be helped. We were hauling wood around, working on those bedrooms that had started, and I think it was a really good idea. It was slow going though. More cargo pods fell out of the sky. Bunch of camel hair. Suppose we'll take whatever we can get. I was back to chopping trees. We were going to need more wood if we were going to get this bedroom project done. Turns out we work really well together. It's a nice compliment to me. Of course, I shouldn't be thinking that though. When I got done chopping wood, I had a meal and I was off to bed. And Ed came and laid next to me. I had some bananas under my head. It's more than a little frustrating. Turns out bananas make a poor pillow. And we kept working on that room, hauling in the wood I was chopping. And I decided to chill out, just have a sit. And I could hear Ed right outside the wall. There was this real tension between us now. She was tossing horseshoes. Someone needed to clean this mess up. On an unrelated note, I ran out to get more bananas. Took what I could. There's really nowhere to put stuff anymore. And when I got back, there was a few trees that needed chopping to finish up the bedrooms. Ed was putting up roofs. Things were almost there, which is fantastic. I was back to the business of chopping trees, and then we both ran around, taking down walls together. Pretty dangerous game in my opinion. We shouldn't be spending this much time together right now. My weakened mental state. I ran around, she chased after me. That's just how it went. And then we got a lot done though, that's for sure. There wasn't too many left, and we stayed focused. Once again, we work really awesome as a pair. And we continued to do so. She decided to work a little later. I think she was feeling down about me having shunned her so much. She said she understood, but I'm not convinced that she did. I was feeling alright despite the mess, this place. And we had a good sleep. I got up early, tossed some horseshoes. She got up and had a meal. Got back to work. She was building heaters, beds, dressers, you name it. Setting up a power grid for us. Gonna be awkward if Kira shows up. At least we have separate bedrooms, I guess. I was hauling wood around, stopping to deal with these shaggy looking camels, try and clean them up a little bit. Poor things. Someone's got to pay attention to them. Ed was hanging out, not doing a lot. She finally got so disgusted with the mess in the room, she was going to do some cleaning. And I was running around, trying to keep the camels somewhat tame anyway. My animal skills certainly aren't what they should be. Butter was crazy, hauling stuff all over the place now that I taught him that. Problem is, I couldn't catch the damn thing. He's running around like mad. I'm trying to teach him something else. Keep him as friendly as can be. He's running away from me. That doesn't sound tame at all as far as I'm concerned. Ed was working on the power conduit. She got one bedroom finished. I came back, had myself a meal, decided it was time to get some rice in the ground. I was going to uninstall my bedroll for the minute. Turns out that wasn't much needed. What was needed was these camels needed some attention. That generator needed filling. About that time, Cougar decided to try and hunt Butter. And it was going to be a sad day if it caught him. It turns out, I shot out there with my gun as quick as I could. Gave it the business once, and that sent it packing. It's a dangerous life for dogs here, I can tell you that. But they are extremely useful. Little fellas hauling stuff around for us. And that cougar wouldn't survive too long. Thank God it didn't get a hold of my dog. We were off to sleep at that point, in our own rooms. She'd purposely left my light off. Not sure if she was trying to tell me something. I had some raw rice when I got up, and that wasn't very good. I was gonna have to get something else cooked up here. I was focused on putting some rice in the ground. Make sure we get another harvest. After that, I had to walk around, picking up what I could find, taking it back in. Ed was done, almost, the last of the buildings. There was only a couple small ones left. I was hanging out, and just contemplating what I should do, exploring my feelings, wishing I had a beer. I had to sit down and talk to Ed. She came in to fix the heater, which is giving a little beeping air because it wasn't working right. Needed a repair. I went back to planting rice till it was time to have another meal, and then I got right back to that. Ed was working on pulling down the walls in the last building. There was still a bunch of camel hair laying in the rain, going to waste. Also some bananas. And Butter helped me haul those back. We were having a good time. I came down, grabbed the rest of that camel hair that was laying. Ed finished working on the walls, got those ripped down. Our power went out about that time. Decided I'd refuel that before I got to bed. Make sure we didn't sleep in the cold. You know what a frustration that can be. And we slept. Ed was a little mad at me, so she'd stopped talking to me. I was feeling rather rebuffed at this point. So my mood wasn't what it should be. Butter was running out. I told him to come back home. Some animal was trying to get a hold of him and kill him, so we ran on out to the rescue once again. Ed didn't have a weapon, so she ran to pick up a revolver. Didn't look good for Butter, and it turns out it wasn't going to be good. That damn bastard killed my dog. I was furious, upset. I started shooting him, and then he came after me. Ran right inside my house, little compound area. And he was quick. Ed popped out, shooting at it. Could have saved my life, in all honesty. She was a pretty good shot, it turns out. And then I gave it the business with the chain shotgun. And I was mad as could be. Poor Butter was dead. All that work, all that time, the nuzzling, the love, and this stupid animal killed my dog. I was upset beyond being able to explain. So I was going to eat some raw rice, because that would probably help my mood. I decided against it, since I could cook a meal. And that's what I did. Started cooking. We dug a grave. Decided we were going to put Butter in there. Ed did it. I couldn't bring myself to. It was sad. So sad I had to stay focused on my work. About that time, some crazy alien showed up. Hell-bent and determined to kill us. I'd never seen anything like it. Maybe one time in a daze at that city, some of those things that popped out of the ground. I can't remember it too well, given that my mind was wrecked at that point. So the thing ran right up on us. Took out the camel somehow. Looked like it had some kind of crazy acid spit thing shooting out of its mouth. And that was more than a little bit terrifying. For whatever reason, we got bold, ran on out. Turns out we were just trying to save the other camel. Dromedaries aren't the smartest things. I guess I could have told them to go inside. Ed was a real crack shot, man. And that damn alien messing up two of my dromedaries. I was still really upset about the dog. The weapon I had no range to it. And we eventually brought it down. There was acid blood all over the place. I didn't know what to do with it, but we were going to have to get these camels taken care of. We're eventually going to need them to come back. I want to go raid me some city. See if I can find anything useful. Save myself some trouble. Ed took a dangerous path, walking over some traps while carrying a camel. But no harm, no foul. She stepped lightly and made it. There was still all kinds of work to do, but I was still worried about the fact I was going to miss Butter. When I got up from cloud watching, I tended up the camels, which took more effort than you would have thought. They were both pretty bad. They've been covered in acid spit. Ed was off peeling up floors, which was good. Once again, we were going to end up with a ton of materials for whatever it's worth. Perhaps we could get rid of these wooden walls, make something a little more worthwhile. I got the camels tended and fed. And later on, I was off hauling stuff. Ed was playing some horseshoes. I was off to bed at that point, and there was a damn dromedary in my room. Ed was well injured. She needed tending. Turns out she got spit on as well. I didn't even notice. And she was trying to be tough, suffer, not say a word. And we were both to bed by then. Ed was still mad at me. But it is what it is. My mind's a mess, everything that had happened. And I'm having a hard time committing despite the feelings I'm having here. And someone named Sally showed up at that point. She didn't seem like she'd be a very good person to hang around with. Like a big crybaby. Something. Didn't want to hurt anybody. Turns out everything that's been done since I've been here has been about somebody trying to hurt somebody. I sent her walking. We don't have the space for somebody right now anyway. I cooked and I cleaned and I cooked while Ed ran around peeling up the floors everywhere. I occasionally stopped for a meal. There was still rice to be put in the ground. Seems like no matter how many meals I make, we don't have enough. But Ed was making fantastic progress, popping up all the floors all around. There was all these flowers about. We could get some colored petals. Maybe somebody want to buy those. I don't know. They seem pretty cool. I sat down, chilled out for a while, swapped out my hats. Then I was back to cooking, at least for a minute. I decided to butcher up that critter that had killed Butter. I will say, I was more than a little angry. I focused my rage by cooking some fine meals out of it. Now that was off, popping up floors once again. She is a hard worker. I was cooking, thinking about spending some time with Ed, knowing it probably wasn't the right thing for me. While she was off pulling up floors, but she was getting close to being done. I think there was only one little section left. I decided I better plant some rice. That alien was laying out there dead. I decided I was going to leave it. Last time I tried to butcher up one of those things, it exploded in a spray of acid on me. I'm not going to take that risk again. At that point, we were both pulling up floors, being friendly. She took off quick, and that was all I could take. I got upset, sort of had a mental snap, and I just decided to wander around, not focus on much, just try and feel these feelings and get them out of me. And that's what it did. Ed was asleep. Turns out, she stopped using her bed and laid in the dirt. But she figured it out eventually. And as I wandered, lost and forlorn, next morning Ed got up, had herself one of them fine meals, and decided to toss horseshoes. She even put on my old hat, which made me even sadder. I was either going to have to commit to this, or ask her to leave. Or maybe leave myself if she didn't want to leave. Ed was back to work on the floors. I was still wandering lost. Not sure where to go, what to do. Not sure how long I'd feel this way. But that's life. You gotta take the ups and the downs. Ed was working on the last of the flooring removal all around. And we certainly had a ton of material now. I couldn't bring myself to do anything yet. But eventually, decided I better have a fine meal and get some rest so I could actually be useful. Feel like Ed's really carrying me here, and that's not fair. It's also not fair to her. She's trying to get involved with me. I'm constantly shunning her. She would turn it around on me though, make me feel bad for it. We were both to bed by that point. We gotta do something about the rotting corpses around. It's starting to stink. It's making me feel rather unpleasant. Maybe at some point, when I got up, the dromedary needed his asthma attended, so I took care of that. The other one needed feeding. Something seemed wrong with it. I was gonna have to check it out as well. The fact that it just laid around all day after that alien had come means something's wrong. Ed was chilling out. I think she was waiting on me to come inside. She was gonna wait a while. After that, she went to finish off the floors in the bedroom. I was tossing horseshoes, having an okay time, feeling about as good as I'd felt in a while, now that I'd got most of them bad feelings out. Didn't mean they wouldn't come back though. Our power went out around that time. The camel was wandering around our bedrooms, making a big mess. Bunch of meat rotted away, which is sad as it gets. Not sure why I didn't make fine meals out of those. Kind of a shame to Butter's legacy that I didn't. We both had meals, refilled the generator. She went back to working on the floors. I was hauling in all these blocks from everywhere that she'd peeled up. Turns out, not sure what I was going to build, what we were going to build, but we had some real options at this point. And she was getting close to finishing those bedrooms, and it wasn't long before she did. She tidied up after that. I'd say they were slightly impressive, in all honesty, and she'd done a hell of a job. We were both feeling a little bit crabby about having sent Sally off. She could have been a good person. Ed and I having some good conversations, learning a bit about each other. When I got up, I had myself a meal. I fed the dromedary that wouldn't get itself out of bed. Once again, a little too afraid to look at it and see what was wrong with it. Just gonna be one more thing. Probably have to kill that thing too. No telling what alien acid does to a thing. Good to know though, not to get too close to them bastards. I was gonna have to get myself some kind of better firearm here. I was over picking up blocks by that creepy building while Ed was tossing horseshoes. And she got to the business of mining after that. There was a bunch of steel nearby. We were going to claim that. I was off cutting down trees. Ed decided to start hauling blocks in. I think she knew I was out and about working. She wanted to do the same. I should have buried this body a long time ago, but there it sits. I've probably seen it 100 times the last couple weeks. So I carried in a bunch of wood. I sat there looking at Butter's grave, feeling pretty sad. Ed walked by. I really wanted to tell her something, and probably said more than I should have. But she was crabby. She didn't respond. I think I was just feeling down about Butter. Not thinking straight, in all honesty. But we carried on, getting work done, getting stuff hauled. Wood, blocks, you name it. Busy time for us here. And there was plenty more to do. Once we got all this done, I'm not sure what direction we'd take. I still want to get back to that city. I have to get myself a dromedary that will get out of bed at some point. The other two, one's got asthma. I think one's healthy at least. Ed was in bed. She was crabby about the dead bodies laying around. Apparently I'd said something about her aunt's eating habits, which I don't remember saying, but it is what it is. I was off to bed as well. We'd had a good conversation about fat animals, which is pretty entertaining. Next day, I decided I was going to have to make some meals. Turns out, upon inspection of that dromedary that was down, its brain had got acid on it, melted right through the skull. I thought it was just a cut when I patched the thing up. Having a second look though, Ed was praying that the dromedary would pull through. I knew I was going to have to put it down. One more thing to worry about. On the plus side, I should be able to make some awesome meals out of it. Wait till I had a nice surplus of rice again. We were right about out at the minute. And we were back to carrying all the flooring, chunks of rock, blocks, back inside. And we were working together once again. Ed decided to do some mining at that point, which is going to be her focus for now. I decided to take a few minutes and toss horseshoes. It does feel good to relax once in a while, especially when we're so busy. The rice was coming in. That was fantastic. That dromedary didn't have much time left, I can tell you that. I brought some rice in, made a meal. In fact, made a few. While Ed mined. I think we were purposefully avoiding each other at this point. I got back to working on the rice. And she carried on with the mining. She snuck off to bed without saying anything. I worked on the rice for a little while, and then I went to bed too. I was feeling a little crabby about all the rotting corpses and the raw rice I'd been eating. Ed was crabby about how gross the mining area was. We were having a decent night's sleep. I could hear her in there through the vent. When she got up, she was back to mining. I was back to working on the rice. For whatever reason, feeding that dromedary that was down with a bad brain. Ed came in, sat down, decided she'd do some cleaning. She's always really good about that. I was so torn on this situation, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to be that guy, but where was Kira? She could be dead somewhere. I wouldn't know it. And we were purposely working on opposite ends. Our little compound here. She was mining. I was plucking rice. Our cotton was coming in nice, I'd noticed. Despite the wall providing much shade for it, I decided I'd harvest a bunch of that as well. I also decided it was time to take a walk around and chill out for a couple minutes. Ed was mining. She's a real beast, man. Work like a dog. Never give up. When I was done walking about, I had myself a meal. I'd left a lot of rice laying around, even some fresh plucked cotton. But work was work, and there was only so much a guy could do at a time. After that, I was off to bed, finished up with the cloth gathering. Ed finished up with the steel mining. She was off to bed as well. She was still crabby about the mining situation. And we both had some good conversations about dusters and bowler hats today. And we were feeling alright. When I got up, I fed the down dromedary again. I'm pretty sure that thing's not going to recover on its own. I just had to suck it up and do what needs to be done here. Ed had a meal, helped me carry stuff in. I got back to planting cotton. Ed was in a room meditating while I was working on the rice. That stuff is going to all have to be replanted along with the cotton. Ed was going to build some walls, see if we could block out this under mountain space, keep anything bad from sneaking up from underneath us. It's the last thing we need in here, without the capacity to take care of it. So we gathered up all the steel she'd mined. We're going to need some more wood as well. We didn't have what we'd call a good supply of that around here. And that's all we really had to make the walls out of if we didn't want to waste the steel. The wood was going to be necessary. Keep the generator going. She worked super fast on those walls. I was going to be sad if she decided to leave. It was what it was. I can't have this kind of stress. The more time that goes on, the more it occurs to me. The longer she stays, the more likely something bad to happen is. I worked on rice. She worked on walls. She got back to the business of mining after that. I continued planting rice. She was making much more progress than I was. She came in and had a meal. I was darn near done planting the rice, but there was still a bit left. At that point, Ed decided to leave. She'd had enough of me. And she didn't even say goodbye. I saw her walk out of the kitchen as I was going in to make meals. It turns out she was gone. I was alone. And I knew I should have either committed or not committed. And that was too wishy-washy. We'd had a lot of good times, and I'd definitely say I had some feelings for her. I hope she'd fare well. Hopefully she didn't get captured or something like that. I'd have to come to the rescue. While she was leaving, turns out some crazy little critter showed up, started chasing after her. Some kind of little alien, no doubt. I didn't recognize it. I have not seen it before. But it vaguely resembled those other ones. I hope it didn't get her. I hope she'd be alright.